Hello everybody and welcome to La Cena e Servita, an event that is part of the World Week of Italian Cuisine. My name is Carlo Ricci and with me, Lorenzo Nanni, we are talking to you from ALMA, the International School of Italian Cuisine based in Parma. The event today is all about understanding what real Italian cuisine is, and thankfully we have the support of some very, very important bodies. The Italian Institute of Culture in Edinburgh, the Scottish office of the Italian Chamber of Commerce, and last but not least, very importantly, the support of the Consulate General of Italy in Edinburgh. It's going to be a very engaging hour. There's going to be a lot of things happening. We have two very, very, very engaging guests to talk with who have also very much helped make this event possible because of the current situation, it's very, very hard for us to travel, so we need as much support as possible. But these are not just support for tonight. They're also active members, so they prepared your meals and they made sure that they got them to you. So they're very, very important parts of what's been going on. So I'm very pleased to have been working with them, but before we introduce them, we'll wait a little bit to introduce them. We'll get to them later on, because before this, we have an important message from the Consul General of Italy in Edinburgh, Fabio Monaco.
Good evening everyone and welcome to the 5th Settimana della Cucina Italiana nel Mondo. Every year I open this event saying that it's a pleasure to be here with you. And it occurred to me that I couldn't say that tonight. On the other hand, I can and want to say it again, because even if we are not in the same venue, we are together in this virtual room that we have worked hard to create, precisely to ensure that Italian cuisine is still, even in these difficult times, a reason to unite people, to entertain, to share our knowledge, and why not, a good laugh. I will leave you now, but not before I have thanked our partner in Italy, ALMA International School with its chef Carlo Maria Ricci, and our partners in Scotland, Eusebi Deli and the Damiani Sicilian Fine Dining. Now, sit down, relax, and enjoy your dinner and this online event.
And thank you very much to Consul Monaco for his introduction and very, very kind words. Before I introduce our two restaurateurs for the night, just one word of warning. There is a lot that is going to be said today, so if you feel like you have any questions, please feel free to write them in the chat section of the webinar. So we have somebody following what is happening, and we're going to be trying to answer as many as possible. Generally, we get a lot more answers than we can actually, a lot more questions than we can actually answer. So those that we don't answer directly today, we will be answering via mail. So please write anything that you want to ask. But now it's time to introduce our important guests. So we will start with the two, I say, most important people at Eusebi Deli in Glasgow. Giovanna Eusebi, which as the surname say, you understand, she's the woman behind everything, and her chef, Sebastian Vereschi. Can you hear me? Hello, welcome. So thank you very much for your support. So we've been relaying back and forth in the last couple of weeks trying to understand how to make this event happen, and who would have thought that it was going to be like this? Remote, everybody at home, trying to get this beautiful food to our diners, to our guests at home this way. How has it been? How has it been going?
Yeah, Carlo, it's been going well. It's been challenging. It's a time where you feel very disconnected, especially in hospitality. But this is really important because food still keeps us all connected. And the Settimana della Cucina is such an important event for us. It's one in our calendar which we really look forward to every year. And so even just doing it virtually is just a way to keep connected with Italy and with yourself, and to promote true Italy and true Italian food.
Yeah. Good thing that, I mean, food is always a connection. We always manage to find a way to connect via food. I mean, we discussed everything via mail. We had a few Skype conversations, but at the end, I think we all understood that, you know, that was the bottom line. Like we're all very passionate about food. We all wanted to really be our way to get to customers. So it wasn't, it was different, but not so difficult, I'd say.
I think as well that with your recipes, it's one way of our audience tonight being able to taste your food. So we hope we've done you some justice. in the recipes that you've sent from Sabina and from Sebastian, who've cooked it up and we've sent it out today. So fingers crossed it lives up to your expectations.
I'm sure it will. I'm sure it will. I hear fantastic things about Eusebi Deli. I was in Glasgow, I think 3 years ago, and I just popped in very briefly for a coffee in the morning, and it was so busy. I think when you see that, you understand that customers love you, the establishment is working and is doing the right thing for food, and probably also for Italian food.
Yeah, thank you. I think the most important thing for us when we opened Eusebi's was at the top of the page was to do real Italian food and not fake Italian food. So that was the top of the page. So you can see behind us, we make everything from scratch every day. And that really came from my Italian heritage, from my grandparents and my great-grandparents. And we still cook my great-grandmother's recipes here. So I've never met her, but I'm still connected with her the way I've never met you, but I'm still connected with my Italian heritage. Even in these very challenging times, we found a way to do it.
Excellent. It's with food is always like that. It's always about that. It's always about the connection. So I'm very happy. I'm very happy that we managed to work together. I'm very, very happy that we're talking now. But also, I mean, you guys are in Glasgow. You did a great job. But also, we needed support in Edinburgh, and Sabrina Damiani from Damiani Sicilian Fine Dining was there. And I think there is something that we must point out. Sabrina is the Sicilian component of tonight's dinner. She's the one who steered the conversation in most cases, and also really was very strong and very passionate about making sure that we passed on the concept of tradition and also very much originality. So how are you, first of all?
Hi, buonasera. Hi, no, I'm very happy. I'm very happy to share everyone these beautiful events, and I love that we are going to share the beauty of the Sicilian dishes tonight, and your recipes actually that are they are very innovative and beautiful. So I hope that everyone tonight will enjoy the beauty and the colorful, the opulence, the magnificence of the Sicilian dishes. So thank you so much for sharing. All of us.
You're very welcome. Thank you once again for participating. I think the thing that we really try to do, we try to show Sicilian food for what it really is. We added maybe a little interpretation in places, but we took very, I wouldn't call them staples, but I would call them very representative dishes in a way, or very representative products, and try to convey them in a way that would work for the event, but also would work for the logistics of the night. And before we got on, and you were telling us that there are some aspects of Sicilian cuisine, like its grandeur, its opulence, that are very, very important. So can you tell us more about that? I think that would be very good for everybody watching.
Sorry, I cannot. What do you say? Can you repeat the question?
Yes, sure. Yes, sure. Before we started, you were saying, Sicilian cuisine is very grand. It's something where it's very big. It's got some Arabic roots, so it's very colorful. And you said every single dish that we went through or that we prepared kind of showcases that in a way. And can you tell us your experience about this a little bit, maybe? Like, did you find that Sicilianness, if we could say so, in them?
I think that in every dish we prepare tonight, there is all the ancient, tradition we have. So, for example, I really love to write the story about all the dishes, from the arancino to the Sicilian cassata. And it's very nice to see how, for example, the shape, and the color of the arancino come from the orange. That is the fruit that Arabs bring in Sicily. And also all the other ingredients we have, for example, in the cassata, the pistachio, the color, they come from Arabs. And so, yeah, sorry, what you said?
I'm listening to you, sorry.
We have a problem with it. So I think that everyone can enjoy, and can this beauty in these dishes and find these special ingredients.
Excellent.
Is something really special tonight. And it is lovely to see, for example, from you how to create, for example, the arancino or the timballo. That, for example, the timballo is very famous in literature from the leopard, and it's something just described completely the opulence, you know, everything is inside, and this is what really Sicily is, and also all the Sicilian dishes are. So.
Indeed, I agree. It's they're very much like that. They recall a lot of emotions. So I think, well, thank you very much to everybody at Eusebi, at Giovanna and Seb, and also to Sabrina. And I think we should jump into really the heat of the night. So 3 recipes: arancine with baccalà, which we're going to be explaining, un timballo di melanzane e pasta, which we're going to be actually preparing, and cassatine. But let's start with the first dish of the night. So arancine, as Sabrina was saying, these are a quintessential Sicilian fare, Sicilian food. They can be considered a snack, almost a meal. They are one of the Sicilian most famous street foods, and they're called arancine because they resemble an arancia, so an orange. The shape for sure to start with, but also if you were to cut them in half, the filling. They always have, or almost always have, this beautiful kind of enveloping, this is our pasta, ready to go. There is always this beautiful saffron rice container holding something special inside. And the fillings of this dish are as varied as the richness of Sicilian products can be. In this case, we have baccalà, which is a type of salted cod, pomodorini, so cherry tomatoes, olives, which are all very, very, very Sicilian products. You have to know that Sicily is kind of like the bread basket, or at least the vegetable garden of Italy, and also because of current market forces, also of most of Europe. But how does it work? So you will need some specific ingredients that are very Sicilian, and the first one is saffron. Okay, so you'll be cooking a riso Roma, which is a type of rice, and you want to use Roma because the grain of rice is the right size and it has the right amount of starch for this preparation. If you're using more risotto-geared rice, you will have some starchier kind of results, which don't always hold that well. So you'll be cooking the arancini with saffron, wine and butter, okay? You are creating, broth or stock and butter, and you're very much taking an approach that is different from the one that you would take for risotto. You're cooking everything together, you're not toasting the rice, you're allowing it to absorb all the liquid. And this creates kind of like a sticky, beautiful yellow rice that is capable of holding all the ingredients inside. And the ingredients inside really are constructed in this case to work around this guy over here. This is salted cod. Okay, so it's a piece of cod that has been salted to lengthen its shelf life as much as possible, and is, yes, a fish that you'll find in a lot of Sicilian preparations, you'll find it in a lot of Italian preparations in general, but you'll find it really throughout Europe. And in this case, we decided to pair it with cherry tomatoes, and there are some very notable cherry tomato type of productions in Sicily, one of which is from Pachino, for example. Here you have olives, which are, again, one of the backbone products of the whole regional cuisine of Sicily, every single aspect of Sicilian regional cuisine. And then we have garlic, parsley, and whatnot. How does it work? So we cook this rice, we allow it to cool, we prepare a very loose sauce with fresh tomatoes, we cook the baccalà separately from the tomatoes, we whisk it with a little bit of oil, almost to make something that looks like a mantecato di baccalà or a brandar. We put the two preparations together, we add a little bit of parsley, and then we literally stuff a shell of rice with this filling. We close it, we pan fry it, or more so, we bread it, we coat it with a little bit of water and flour, sometimes a little bit of egg as well, and then breadcrumbs, and we fry it. So it's something that by itself lasts quite a while, and you can really appreciate it from up close, how kind of like unusual, but also it's becoming very, very well known, this preparation. So this is, yes, unusual, but it's becoming, as I said, well known, so you probably know it. But more so, you can really, by looking at it, understand the richness of the preparation and also the concept of enclosing something into something else. The next preparation, which we're now going to be preparing, is called timballo di melanzane e pasta, and it's actually another one of this preparation that is kind of all about hiding, holding, containing. As Sabrina was saying, there are a lot of preparations that are encasings in a way or another. And timballo, basically, it's a preparation where we have allow me the term, a cake of eggplants into which we're going to be stuffing a preparation that is based on pasta. So a normal pasta dish, instead of being served on a plate, in this case is going to end up in this beautiful shell, if we can so call it, of grilled eggplant that is really going to be the kind of added value of the whole dining experience. And let's talk first of all about the ingredients. This is very, very important because Sicilian cuisine, it's not possible without the again, plethora of ingredients and the variety of ingredients that Sicily has to offer. So to start with, you'll need eggplants, okay? So melanzane. You would want to choose long eggplants, so melanzana lunga, and the shape is perfect because we need to, for all intents and purposes, coat or at least line a cake tin with them. And if you have something that is long this way, then you have a lot of chances, or you have a better chance to properly cover every single gap. How do you know that they're right? So you want firm eggplants. When you bash them, you have to be able to hear the noise. You don't want anything that is too soft, okay? Anything too soft or wrinkly starting to give away, not working. And this is something that you want to, you want them that way because the longer they kind of sit around, the quicker they tend to oxidize once you cut them. And you really want to avoid that. You want the eggplant that is as fresh as possible. So you're gonna have melanzane lunghe, and what you want with them is basically, what you want to do with them is basically two preparations. So we're gonna start by slicing the first one in actual slices. And this is the one that we're going to be using to coat our cake tray. And your slice has to be about, I'd say, just under a centimeter. This is the perfect, let me get one so you can see it better in the camera. You want about 1 centimeter. And after you've sliced them, or after you've sliced enough eggplants, the one thing you want to do is you want to salt them. Salting eggplants does two things. First of all, it seasons them, so you actually get a lot of flavor in the eggplants. It prevents a little bit of the oxidation from happening, but also draws a lot of moisture. Eggplants are about 94% water, so you want some of the vegetation water to come out because they give them a very, pass me the term, vegetable flavor. Okay, so you get more of a green kind of like tannic herbaceous flavor that you can draw out by salting them. And this allows for the final preparation to be more, in a way, pungent, more eggplant forward, if this makes sense. So you're gonna slice some, and then another part you're gonna peel and dice. And this is very important, peel, because the skin is the part of the eggplant that holds the most tannins. So it's the one that will result most bitter. And we have two eggplants preparation at hand, and the one that we dice is the one that is actually gonna end up in the sauce. So very simply, in this case, I'm gonna cut it into 4 major slices, and then from here on, I'm gonna go simply in cubes, nothing more. And from here, once again, I want to salt it. I want to season it as much as possible, okay? And salting will do two things, as I said, season and allow for vegetation water to come out. Here, there is something that has already been salted. So if you can see, first of all, that you have a lot of water. Can you see it in the camera? You have a lot of water, vegetation water that is kind of like loose in this bowl. But also, if I were to pick them up and squeeze them with my hand, you can see that a lot of this vegetation water comes out. And interestingly, if you look at the actual eggplant, then it stays together. It doesn't crush away because it's very fibrous. So the first preparation we're going to grill. The first preparation we're going to grill, the second preparation we're going to fry. And you can really see that once the eggplant is fried, it holds its shape. And this is exactly what we want. Why is this preparation going in the sauce? Well, first of all, as I said, it seasons it, but also by eliminating the skin, so eliminating the bitter component, that tannic component, and drawing as much moisture out of the eggplant as possible, we're gonna make it very, very sweet. So we're gonna balance, kind of like season with eggplanty sweetness. Allow me the term once again. We're gonna season our sauce, our tomato sauce that is gonna dress the pasta with this beautiful essence of eggplant. It's not gonna melt away in the sauce, it's not gonna break up, it's gonna remain a little chunky. So when the diner is gonna get a mouthful of this sauce and hit the eggplant is gonna shine. let me clear for a second, and then I'm going to be back with you in no time. So what do we want to do with this eggplant? Well, simply, with the sauce, simply we need to get pomodori pelati. Lorenzo has already started with the sauce. He's roasted very, very gently, a little bit of garlic and extra virgin olive oil, and then he's cooking the pomodori pelati. So pomodori pelati are crushed peeled tin tomatoes. Why peeled tomatoes? Well, they are the ones that basically are the closest to the actual product after it's picked. So tomatoes that are peeled and in a can are purely steamed. The skin is removed, again, to remove all the bitterness, the tannic bitterness from the skin, and then they are the most ideal kind of state to create a sauce. So there they go in the pan. Once the sauce has been cooking for a while, Lorenzo is going to add the eggplant that we previously fried, so that this is going to add a lot of flavor in the sauce. So we're going to have effectively a eggplant flavored tomato sauce to dress our pasta with. And then let's talk about the pasta for a second, because we're not choosing any type of pasta. In this case, we've chosen like a very specific format, and if you were to reproduce this kind of recipe, then I'd say look for something like this, or something long, tube-shaped as much as possible. Big is nice because you can put a lot of the sauce in it. So you can, big is nice because you can stuff it with a lot of the sauce. You can really put basically the tomato sauce, the eggplant pieces, but also some of the cheeses, 2 types of cheeses that we'll be adding inside the pasta before you actually stuff the cake tin, okay? So this is nice. If you can't find it, then don't worry. Something that will have a hole is fine, but also if you don't find this, then there are other solutions that, for example, Sabrina can tell us about, because Sabrina, correct me if I'm wrong, you didn't use rigatoni, you used a very, very traditional pasta or shape of pasta to make pasta al forno in Sicily. And what is that? Tell us more about that, please. We can't hear you, Sabrina. You're muted.
I use the traditional anelletti, that is a shape like a ring that we use for the timballo. You know, it's a traditional Sicilian pasta that is just used for the baked timballo.
Exactly.
And yes, that one. Yeah.
Excellent. And
they are the
anellini al forno, like, is also another type of pasta that you find quite often. Yeah, you actually find really that seems to be the go-to pasta to make pasta al forno in Sicily. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Sorry?
I'm saying anellini seems to be the go-to pasta to make pasta al forno in Sicily. You find a lot of baked pasta dishes with anellini, correct?
Yeah, all baked pasta are done with anelletti.
Anelletti, pardon me.
Yes.
See? Excellent. So here we are we twisting things about a little bit?
Really, I'm sorry. I have a problem with the audio.
It's
Sorry.
okay. It's okay. Don't worry. I'm saying, is our choice okay? Can you pass us the selection that we've used?
Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. It's, just joking. It's okay. Don't worry. And also,
do you?
Yeah, we can hear you. I think there is a little bit of a delay.
Okay.
It's okay.
I'm sorry, but I don't know. I tried everything before, but my audio, I cannot really hear. Sometimes I lose your voice.
Don't worry. Thank you for the explanation about anelletti. And Seb and Giovanna, so you guys have been onto this dish as well, correct? How does your version look like? What pasta did you use?
So we go to macaroni.
Excellent.
With the tube to allow the sauce to pass through.
Excellent, excellent. Ready to go. And then did you use? Yes, I'm listening. Show me, Seb. Smashing. Excellent. Thank you. Right, and so pasta choice is very, very important. Thank you very much, Giovanna and Seb, for dropping in, and also to Sabrina. Pasta choice is very, very important, but you also want to make sure to choose the right type of cheese. This type of preparation needs a sort of cheese to, maybe we could say, act like glue, if we wanted to use a technical, or at least if we want to look at the technical side of the dish, but also we need flavor, like we want to add extra flavor. And cheese production in Sicily is incredibly broad. They produce cheese out of sheep, goats, and cow's milk, so their dairy production is incredible. We are using a mozzarella, which is probably the only Italian cheese that you'll find in all of Italy, and there are some specific Sicilian productions, so we're using mozzarella that we have diced. And we are using provolone because it's very easy to find whether you are in Italy or not, or this kind or similar provolones, because it's very similar to some cheese productions or cows-based milk production in Sicily. They tend to bring somewhat a little bit of spice in it, but also maybe a smokiness without being smoked. And provolone is one of them. And once again, we've diced that too. You want to make sure that the dice is the correct size to enter your type of pasta. And by that I mean that literally you want to cut it to a size where you can literally drop it into the shape of pasta that you're using. So it doesn't matter whether you're using mezze maniche, paccheri, or rigatoni, you just want to make sure that it's cut to that size. Because, as I said, we're going to be really forcing this sauce and filling into the pasta. Lorenzo, are we good to go? So Lorenzo has cooked the pasta already, and he has also got a sauce ready. And at the same time, we have grilled the eggplant, because we need to show you this dish as quickly as possible. So, vai Lor. Pasta is cooked, here we have it. We're going to be adding most of the sauce to it, not all of it, because some we're going to be keeping on the side, okay? So we're going to keep it on the side, and we're going to be putting in a blender jug, basically, because we're going to be emulsifying it with a little bit of oil, and some of this sauce is going to be dressing for the plate. Some of it, or the remainder of it, is going to be dressing for the actual pasta that is going to go into the terrine. So, sauce on the pasta. As I said, not all of it. I said about 4/5. That's the ratio that I go. So 80% of the sauce into the pasta. You want to make sure to add the cheeses, so provolone or provola, and then the mozzarella. And you can really see that by Lorenzo's hand, he's got gloves on, that you want to get into this dish. You want to stir everything together. You want to make sure that as much of the dressing for the pasta gets into the pasta. So Lorenzo is going to show you how to proceed. And as you can see, he's really trying to fold ingredients together. He's trying to stuff that pasta. At the same time, I have the cake tin ready, and I've cut a disc of paper that I know is going to fit in there. So I'm just going to cut the size so that I'll be able to drop it in. I'm going to line the container, and I'm going to get some sliced eggplant. So you saw that there is as much wilting going on as possible. There was as much wilting going on as possible, as much folding. You want the pasta really to be stuffed with the sauce and the pieces of cheese. Now to the terrine. You want the sliced eggplant, once it's sweated, once it's given the water, you want to pan fry it really quickly, maybe grill it if that's your thing, so that you have these beautiful slices. And once they're ready, you want to line your mold in what I called 8 sections. So you want to start from the center, put a slice down, and then you want to put another 7, kind of like dividing it into 4 quadrants of a watch. So 12 to 3, 3 to 6, 6 to 9, and then back to 12. And you can see there are quite a few gaps at the moment in this terrine, but don't worry, because here is where we want to keep going. We want to add, obviously, more slices. By doing this kind of like 8 let's call it 8-section fold, you are kind of ensuring that you are closing all the gaps without leaving any space visible, or without kind of like allowing the pasta to escape, and at the same time you can keep the pattern as elegant and steady as possible. Once that is done, you can stuff it with the pasta that you've, as you can see Lorenzo doing, adequately filled with all the sauce and the ingredients. At the same time, have basil leaves ready, because we're going to be putting basil leaves in this preparation. So, Giovanna and Seb, how was prepping this dish?
Yeah, it was really fun, straightforward, really nice just to kind of work with a very traditional recipe.
Excellent.
Something that's unusual to see in Glasgow, so it's good for the chefs to see that as well and educate them.
Wonderful. Do you think they're going to like it?
Very much so.
Absolutely. Hopefully so. Hopefully so. Fingers crossed. And Sabrina, how did you find it? Like, is it something that you think could go down with a very traditional Sicilian meal?
It's something that I am used to do often. And are you going to do like a dome shape for the timballo?
Well, in this case, I've chosen a cake shape, like flat on the top and flat on the bottom. But as you say, the dome is very much the one that really recalls the real traditional preparations. Absolutely, like the dome will be the one that wows as much as I'd say as other traditional recipes do.
I actually did in the same way. I use a square tin because I didn't have another one, but because it was very impossible to find a dome, mold. But I did exactly the same way. And
okay. And
what pasta are you using?
We're using mezze maniche.
Oh, they are wonderful.
Okay.
I tried to find everywhere. It was impossible to find them at the maniche. I love it actually.
Excellent. So you said you baked it in a square container, and I think it could have gone in a dome. We've used the cake tin. I think the important thing to say is that once you get the hang of this recipe, any shape would do. Like you could do it in a dome, you could do it in a cake tin, you could make single portions, you could do it as we're doing it. You can bake a large timballo and then cut it in slices. They would all work. And it's very much, apart from being flexible, it's being a container. It will work in any size. That's one of the beauties of this type of recipe. Yeah. It will work very well. So Lorenzo is finishing the preparation. We're gonna get Amaris to kind of like cover the. Thank you very much, Lorenzo. To put the remaining ingredients right in here. Don't forget to also add basil leaves as you're adding the pasta. Cover it. Oops, I've made a mess. Press it in. Use a few eggplant slices to cover the bottom of the terrine. And then do maybe a crisscross section. And then close the sides in. And here we have it. Once that is done, put a little bit of pressure on the top. And as it is ready to go in the oven. 20 minutes, 180 degrees. And you will have a timballo ready that looks a lot like this guy over here. Okay, for timing reasons, I should say, we've baked this already. So you can really see how it becomes a more baked preparation. It's like nice and roasty. There's this beautiful golden colors that the eggplant has taken. And all we'll need to do now is cut a slice and serve it on the dish. Salsa specchio, vai emulsiona.
Do you know that the timballo with the aubergine version is the poor version of the traditional, because the timballo was at the beginning was just for the very aristocratic family, and they can have meat inside, like the bolognese sauce, eggs. With the aubergine, it's just for people that cannot afford to buy the meat.
Oh, so I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
This is the dishes now, but were just for the people that cannot afford but want to have the same kind of opulence of the rich people. You know, so the aubergine, that actually is my favorite one, is for people that cannot have the very traditional. That is what we said before. That was described in the leopard. That was full of everything. So this is the story of the aubergine.
Wonderful.
You know,
I really didn't know. Thank you for that. It's something that I didn't know, so I've learned something tonight. And so a little bit of sauce, emulsified sauce in the center of the plate, and I'm gonna make it as flat as possible. I'm gonna make sure that it's like the underlying tone of this dish, and then I'm gonna get a slice of our timballo. I'm gonna plate it right in the middle, and I'm gonna add freely basil leaves around the plate. You really want them to be there. You could also maybe add a little bit of extra virgin olive oil if you wanted to, but it's entirely up to you. And as you can see from the section, it's a dish that is meant to be eaten. So here you have it, timballo di melanzane e pasta. And I am sure that there have been a few questions that have been asked, so I'm sure we can answer a few of them. So Martina is my colleague behind the scene. You can see her, but you'll be able to hear her.
Yes, chef. There's a question for you. Can I prepare a timballo with different vegetables?
Yeah, sure. I think you can use courgettes for sure. They would work. They are also, correct me if I'm wrong, Sabrina, like one of the options that could be used to make a dish like this. You want to find something that is long. They will grill well, they will hold shape and whatnot. But also remember that timballo, you could use a pastry, okay? So you could use, for example, shortcut pastry or pâte brisée you could use for the outside, and it would work as well. So as Sabrina was saying, the fillings are as different as the main interpretation of a recipe like this could be. And I see that everybody, that Giovanna and Sebastian have also got one ready at Eusebi. You've been cooking along.
One we made earlier.
Fantastic. Can you show us your dish? Can you tell us a bit about it?
We made them in much in smaller molds, just individual ones for the purposes of sending them out.
That works really well. Can you show us your dish? We can't see it. It's a little far from the webcam.
Oh, I can't see it.
Wonderful.
Oh.
That works really well. It's eatable. Excellent. So did you have fun preparing it?
Sorry, Carlo, we didn't hear you. Sorry.
Did you have fun preparing it? Okay, sorry. Was it a fun dish to prepare? This is maybe more a question for Seb. No? No, you can't hear. Sorry, I will ask again one more time. Did you have fun preparing it?
Yeah, we did.
Absolutely.
We did. We actually have a Sicilian chef who works with us as well. So he had the rule book out, and yeah, he said it was very authentic and just as much as just what he would have at home with his own family. And it is a dish that's eaten traditionally by everybody, by poor families, by all families around their table in Sicily, So. But it's a dish that we also have served in the deli to take away as well. It's one we've done at lunchtime in a big cake form and sold it in slices.
Great.
People love pasta,
True. It's one of those staples that traveled very, very well. Like it got really reinterpreted, which I think is something about it says something about how versatile it is and how well it adapts itself to all food cultures, and it's very much a comfort food in the best way possible of the best assertion possible of the word.
I mean, it's such a staple of the Mediterranean diet as well. If you think of made in Italy, you think of Italian food, you think of olive oil and tomatoes and pasta.
Absolutely.
So that's very, very important foundation of the Mediterranean diet too.
Absolutely. Wonderful. So we had fun with the dish, and I think it's time to look at our second preparation for the night, which is cassatine. And by itself, it's the smaller version of a larger dish. So cassata siciliana, it's one of the most probably luscious and luxurious Italian desserts based around this wonderful cheese that is ricotta. Ricotta, just like mozzarella, is one of those cheese preparations or one of those cheeses that you'll find in every single Italian region. Although, as you change region, the actual maybe milks that go in them or the actual identity of ricotta tends to change a little bit. Sicily uses a lot of sheep's milk, so you can't make cassata without ricotta di pecora. This is really the one that you want to use. I say you can't, but you really can, because if you are short of ricotta di pecora, then, or sheep's ricotta, you're free to use also cow's milk ricotta. But you really want to use ricotta. And correct me if I'm wrong, Sabrina, like cheese-based desserts were introduced to Sicily by the Arabs. They've been in Sicilian culture for a very long time. I mean, you have cassata and you have cannoli, which both rely on ricotta, and they are the two iconic staples of Sicilian pastries. I don't think she can hear me. Okay. It's probably hard. It's for you, Sabrina. Sorry.
Oh, you are talking about, sorry, really. So what you said about, yes, we are talking about cannoli and
cassata. We're saying that,
Sicilian.
yeah, sure. We say ricotta is one of the main ingredients in these two desserts that are very old, or we can say they're very traditional and have a very long history in Sicily, correct?
Yes, they are very traditional, and also the story of cannoli and cassata is very interesting, because usually people, in the past, was used to travel, so they just want to keep something that was safe during travel and after a few days. So for this reason, for example, in the cassata there is the sugar and the marzipan that cover this beautiful dessert and can stay out of the fridge for a few days. And they try to put all the most exotic ingredients that come from Arabs. And also for the cannoli, the shell is fried and keep the beauty of the ricotta with sugar for a few days. And it's nice because you find all these, the smell of the cinnamon, the orange, the pistachios. You find all these beautiful fruits, and that comes from the very, very traditional dish in Sicily. Also the cassata and the cannoli are from the very aristocratic family, but there is a funny story because it was impossible to eat before Easter, especially the cassata, because it was considered a sin. So they were created in a monastery, so was not allowed anyone to eat for Easter because it was considered like a sin, so. Yeah. And now there was this beautiful feast during Easter, and the cassata, the big one, is just a feast after the
Lent.
Per Pasqua.
Yeah, after Lent for Easter. So they would go through Lent kind of fasting for some time, so they couldn't have them, and you get to Easter and you can have a big feast on cannoli and cassata. Excellent. Very, very interesting. And so...
consider it not eat for Easter. You cannot, avoid to eat a cassata for Easter. You are considered, it's a beautiful sentence in Sicilian that I cannot translate tonight, but you are like an idiot if you are not going to have a cassata for Easter. And you are going to be a sinner forever.
Okay. So. Well, so we are getting ready for Easter. I like that. So we make sure that this Easter we'll keep this in mind, and hopefully we'll be able to maybe even to see each other at Easter. Hopefully in trouble. But so as we said, ricotta is really the base, the backbone of this dish. And all you want to do for the filling is get some ricotta and add sugar to it. Then you'll be, hoopla, I made a little splash of sugar. You want to fold the two ingredients together, and you can see that the preparation will remain somewhat chunky. But this is okay. We're not gonna worry about this because we're gonna sieve this preparation. So stir it to incorporate the ingredients as much as possible. and then feed it through a fine sieve. In the meantime, behind me, Lorenzo is preparing the sponge, because there is a little component of sponge in this recipe. He's whisked egg whites separately from egg yolks with sugar, so he has literally 2 composts. He's going to put them together, so unify the stiffly whisked egg whites to this beautiful emulsion of egg yolks and sugar. They're going to be folded together. Then sifted flour is going to go in there, and we're going to make a very thin sponge that we're going to bake at 220 degrees only for the time it has taken color, got a nice golden color. Then we know our biscuit is ready. So that is something that we've prepared ahead, but Lorenzo is kind of like getting everything together so we can show you what the procedure for that is. And how we're looking, Lorenzo? Almost there? Here we are. So stiff peak egg whites and properly emulsified yolks and sugar, okay? You could use 2 bowls. You could whisk them both with a planetary mixer, but also, as Lorenzo did, you can definitely mix those 2 by hands and fold the ingredients together. And in the meantime, Lorenzo, do you mind sieving this? Is that okay? So Lorenzo is going to be next to me, passing that through a sieve while I fold the ingredients together. So here we are, very gently mixing them together. The whites are going to lose their structure a little bit, but this is okay. This is what we want. It's not a problem. We're going to take our time. And make sure at home to ask as many questions as possible. We're going to be answering them after our cassatine are ready. So once you see that they started to kind of fall together, like emulsify properly, or at least that the whites are going into the yolks, you don't want the whites to be perfectly incorporated just yet, because you want to add the sifted flour. Okay, so at this point where you have maybe a few lumps in different stages, pre-sifted flour, you could also sift it right into it if you wanted to. And as you can see, Lorenzo is really working away at the ricotta. He's using a fine sieve. I mean, you don't have to use this type of sieve. You can use just a normal household sieve. It would work. And we're doing this because we want to make sure that the consistency of the ricotta is as creamy as possible. You know, ricotta is a little, maybe grainy, you could say. And by sieving it, you will get the perfect consistency. And once that is done, all we're going to be adding to this preparation are a few chocolate drops, or even chunks of chocolate. If you wanted to cut them yourself, is fine. And then, this is not very traditional to do, but we're going to add some candied orange, okay? Some little pieces of candied orange. And this recipe is very strong on candied fruit, and we're going to be talking about that for a second. So preservation via sugar is a big Sicilian tradition. You know, lots of sugar in cannoli and cassata to allow it to last for a few days, but also lots of sugar to preserve fruit. Sicily produces an incredible amount of fruit, and preserving them via candying them, so by sugaring them, is probably one of the most luscious and interesting ways to do it. And if you go to Sicily, you find canditi, this is how they're called, eaten in many different ways. In sweet dishes, sometimes in savory dishes, by themselves, as toppings for other preparations as well. So the ricotta is sieved, and while I finish folding this Genoise, actually, ti posso chiedere di stenderla questa? Right, so Lorenzo is gonna flatten it on a tray for me and then put it in the oven. I'm gonna move on to this, grazie Lorenzo. So, sieved ricotta, a few chocolate drops, and candied orange. You also have the option, pardon me, spoon, of adding a little bit of vanilla bean if you wanted to. This would add, maybe you would say, a more contemporary touch, and definitely all the lushness and richness that vanilla brings to preparations. So Lorenzo is going on the, ti do il becco d'anatra? Vai. So Lorenzo is putting it on the tray, and then he is gonna flatten the sponge around with what is called a gooseneck spatula. So a spatula with a little kind of bend onto it. And he's gonna layer it to about maybe 0.5 centimeter thickness 5 millimeters would be ideal so that it can bake flat, and once it's baked, we can cut discs with a smooth ring cutter out of it. But let's go to Glasgow for a second. Giovanna and Seb, how I understand you in your core offer, you also offer maybe cassata, cannoli. Is it something that you offer your customers regularly?
Yeah, it's really, really popular. We also have an off-site bakery. So we make our own cannoli. We do cassata from time to time, but we have other desserts as well. So making everything from scratch is really, really important. And we also make our own butter, because it's not always possible to get it from Italy. So we use, in season, we use some really nice organic Scottish milk, because it rains a lot in Scotland, so we've got really good milk. So we make our own ricotta as well. But just traveling through Italy as a child from place to place, it's amazing when you taste the difference in ricotta from region to region.
Absolutely.
The milk is different. And the time of year also makes the ricotta taste different as well.
Absolutely.
The milk is different at different times of year. But I remember the year I went to Sicily with my dad, and that we just spent the whole week just eating cassata. And we had ricotta and baked ricotta, smoked ricotta, and just that's all we did for the whole week. But and my family from the south of Italy, from between Rome and Naples, so the food is completely different there as well. And that's the beauty about Italy and Italian cuisine. It's a mosaic. It is a mosaic of different blends of different types of weather and different produce. You can taste the sunshine, the tomatoes in Calabria, all the stinky cheeses from the north of Italy, but all of that just makes up fabulous, and you never get tired of Italian food, and we never are done learning in here.
Excellent. This is very good, and I like how you very accurately describe the possibility of having ricotta from starter to dessert. It's absolutely everywhere. It's one of those cheeses that is incredibly flexible. It's probably the only one that really finds its way into preparations regardless of where they are in the menu. Like, it could be a filling of a pasta, it could be the dressing of a pasta, it could be like here in a dessert, it could be eaten by itself. So as you said, it can be baked, it can be smoked. There's definitely definitely a lot of beauty. I'm very happy you said that, because it kind of like shows or really explains the diversity of Italian cuisine, because it's not the same. You know, you said stinky cheeses from the north, which is not something you find in the south. So it's really a kaleidoscope of different products. That's the beauty of Italian cuisine, and this is what we're trying to showcase also with this week and this type of events. So very, very nice. So how did you prepare your cassata like you would prepare it normally, or something was different about this time, this preparation in the specifics?
I mean, we just we always decorate it a bit. We always decorate it a bit differently, but essentially it was the same recipe given to us by a Sicilian when we opened Eusebi's. But we followed your recipe to the letter, and I've got one that we made. We'll get it, Seb, I'll get it.
Oh, yes.
Please, Sabrina, show us yours as well.
Oh, yes, they are behind me. I can take just 1 second. I just want to add something. It's true that we have ricotta everywhere. There is even for breakfast, you can find in every bar, it's like a fried beignet with ricotta and chocolate inside and sugar. That is something to die for. I show you my cassata, just 1 second.
Let's see it. So let's see. Seb, sorry, can you put it a little bit closer to the? Oh wow! Look at that. There's a lot of wonderful. Look at that.
Oh, you're.
Oh, Eusebi wins the cassata challenge. Bring it on. Look at that. That is wonderful. That is really good. So what you see, these beautiful lace decorations that Seb did at Eusebi, is very much very traditional. So if you were to go in a pastry shop, in a pasticceria in Sicily, and you be taken aback, you really be taken back by these beautiful decorations that are, first of all, very in tune with let's say the artistic traditions of the region, but also this concept of making food opulent, look beautiful, look big, bold. This is very much something that is there, but we've taken a more minimalistic approach, just like Sabrina did. We prepared some cassatas earlier on. We're going to put them here for everybody to see.
That's why it's amazing.
Candied fruit on top, but while the camera is on those cassatas, let's explain the last ingredient that is fundamental to prepare this dish, which is pasta di mandorle, okay? So almond paste. This is nothing more than sugar and almond, not even almond and sugar. This is very much a paste that is made by very finely processing almonds with a good amount of sugar. And it's not just something that is used to make the shell of cassata, the exterior of cassata is also something that is really consumed in beautiful preparations that are shaped like fruit or vegetables or even sometimes animals. For Easter, for example, you find little sheeps of pasta di mandorle. And they are, correct me if I'm wrong, Sabrina, they are very much pasta martorana. Is that the right name, right?
Yeah.
Yes, it's a type of marzapane that is really eaten by as it is. But here we have a white version. What we really want is to get a green one, okay? And the easiest way to do it is to use a little bit of natural green food coloring so that you actually end up with a little bit of, or at least a slab, a piece of green marzipan. To make then the shells of cassata, because as you can see, they are enclosed in a little shell of green marzapane. So to make that, you would get a little bit or a piece that suits the shell, the mold that you're using. Mi passi lo zucchero a velo, cortesemente. And you want to use, I have my little cassata, baby cassata rolling pin that I use for these special occasions, and with a little bit of icing sugar, which we're looking for. We had it ready, but it seems to have gone. You want to roll it. So to roll this preparation, you're not going to use, to roll this ingredient, you're not going to use flour. You're going to use a little bit of icing sugar, okay? So you can work directly on the counter, or if you have it on a wooden surface, and you gently, gently want to roll it out. Very, very gently want to roll it out. And if you use icing sugar, because it tends to, as you can see, it tends to crumble, like to cluster. You really want to kind of like put it on top, but don't overdo it. Allow the pasta di mandorle to take enough of it, but not so much that you find yourself with too many of these little white dots. Remember, you can always kind of like brush it with your hand, put a little bit more, like give it this white shine, and then go back to it. So,
you know that we call the pasta marzorana, we call pasta reale, just for the same reason I told you before, that was for the very aristocratic family. So the marzapane, la pasta reale, was for the very important, ball or parties of the nobles in Sicily. And it's nice because during Easter you find also la frutta di martorana. That's for the same reason of the arancino. The frutta di marzapane come with the shape of the fruits that Arabs bring to Sicily. So we have a lot of frutta di martorana that is done with marzipan.
So, and they look beautiful, like you get little fruit baskets of something that is not fruit.
They're really.
Okay, so once you have it rolled, I'd say you want to aim for about 2 to 4 millimeters, nothing more. You want to get the right mold. The right mold is something that looks like, I have a silicone mold here, which is not the traditional one, but it's something that works round, okay, but wider at the bottom than it is at the top. And nothing more than maybe 3 to 4 centimeters tall. Use ring cutters to give yourself an idea of pretty much how big the first sheet is going to be, so the bottom layer is going to be. So cut it to size, and then very, very gently put it in the mold and press on the side so that it will adhere to the bottom of the mold, and you have a nice kind of like corner section at the bottom, so at least a nice, corner edge, a nice edge on the cassatina once it's unmolded. And there are different ways to cut the excess dough, the excess pasta di mandorle from the mold. I'll teach you probably one of the quickest ones that is not the traditional way of doing it, is to use another ring cutter, slightly smaller than the one that you utilize to get the first, or the shape right to layer the mold, and then just cut around that. But we're going to do that only after we've filled it with our beautiful, excuse me. After we filled it with our ricotta. So you don't want to put too much, it has to almost look like you're putting not enough. So just make sure you spread it around the sides of the mold. You want to hit the sides, and then you get a piece of that sponge that we baked. And as I said, not too high, not too tall, 0.5 centimeter maximum, okay? Little trick, if you haven't been that precise in layering it, or maybe if it's a little thicker than you'd want it to, you can easily compress it between your hands. It's fine. This is not a problem at all. And the aim of this disc of sponge is to soak up a little bit of the humidity and also offer a barrier from the ricotta inside. So you would go around it like that. You would press it down. You want to make sure that there is almost ricotta coming around the edges but not showing. And then you'll take the ring cutter that we were talking about, cut into the mold, make sure that you can detach the pasta di mandorle all the way around, take off the excess, and this is where you'll have to work with your hands, unmold it, opla, through the mold, and then here you'll be left with a little cassatina, okay? This is a way of doing little ones, but they go, you know, as big as a normal, let's say 24 to 32 centimeter cake tin. So you can get fairly big cassata that you have to slice. Last ingredient that you need here, last part of the preparation is you want a little bit of icing on it, okay? So this is nothing more than icing sugar with either a little bit of lemon juice or a little bit of water. So get it to the point where it's loose. You can use a bain-marie or a microwave. And then in this case, we're going to be putting a little dot in the center of our cassata. It will, don't worry if you have a little kind of like curl on top of it. This will naturally relax itself into like a little disc, if so we want to say. And then to finish off, candied fruit. This is very much the traditional dressing of this type of preparation. Here we have orange, lemon, and cedar, which are very suiting, very much Sicilian type of candied fruits. But we also have a little cherry and a little apricot. So you can choose whichever you want. I'm gonna finish this one up with a little orange, a little cherry. I really like candied cherries, and a little piece of apricots. And once you have it as they are, this is kind of like good to go. It's a fairly...
Very nice.
It's a good size, is it? It's, I think this size is nice and bite size, or at least single serve size. And I'm actually going to plate one of these, one with cherry. I really like them. And here we are. And this is how they go. It's kind of like simplicity at its best. A dish that from the outside, just like the timballo or like the arancini, would defy a little bit the complexity of preparation and flavors that are involved in this type of dish. But you can really, I'm gonna make some space, Lorenzo, if we could. I'm gonna kind of like break it up so you can see what this is all about. So if you were to go, like, you could really like enjoy, opla, it's moving away, a spoon of something that is creamy, but also grainy from the sugar. There's a lot of richness from the milk. There is a lot of different layers of sugar that are in there, but also there is this beautiful bitterness that comes from the almond and all the aromas from the candied fruit. So there is a lot that goes into this dish, even if, like as I said, arancini or timballo, arancini or timballo, from the outside you are not really able to tell what's hidden inside or what is about to surprise you. Please, if you're... Excuse me?
It just, can I add something? Because it's nice, because the dishes, the Arabic dishes, recreate exactly the Islamic architecture. You know, all these dishes are exactly like the Arabic cupola, you know, the dome. They are very simple outside and very beautiful and rich inside. So also the dishes recreate exactly the architecture. You know, we recognize immediately the Arabic cupolas everywhere. And this is exactly what we do with the dessert or with all the dishes that come from that.
Excellent.
And the Arabic.
Excellent. So this is very much where they come from. And you know, we were looking at Eusebi's cassata aileron, and it very much kind of resembles that. I think we have a cross section. Did you slice it? Did you slice it? Can we see it? Look at that. Oh, wow! I'm coming to eat your cassata very soon. As soon as we're allowed to travel, I'm coming to Glasgow. That looks amazing. Wonderful. Well, that's a very good effort. I really, really like it. So here we are. Eusebi wins the Cassata Challenge, hands down. Hands down. Very, very well done. Congratulations. It looks beautiful. Everybody, I mean, this it's good to eat, but it's also very interesting to look at. So if you were, for example, at home, if you're taking pictures of it, please don't be shy. Like, post it, and you can use the hashtag Italian Taste to kind of tag the event and make sure that the whole echo of this event and this week is spread around. So once again, hashtag Italian Taste. We're at the end of this very packed hour. There's a lot of information that was getting around. It was interesting. I think kind of like very tricky to get the conversation going, but we had a beautiful conversation. So thank you very much, Sabrina, for all the information.
Thank you so much. I'm sorry for that. I'm so sorry.
Don't be. It's part of this event. And also, thank you very much to Giovanna and Seb from Glasgow, from Eusebi, for especially for the cassata. Thank you all. And just to close off, let's see, are there any more questions that we can answer? Is there anything else, Martina?
Yes, there's one question for you. Is it possible to make a giant versions of the cassatine siciliane for multiple people to enjoy at once?
Absolutely, absolutely. So you could see this also a little bit already, in the Eusebi version. It was a little bit larger than the one we made. So they had a beautiful cross section that would work very well as a slice, for example. So as I said, you could get cassate that vary from 24 to even 36 centimeters in diameter. So those are, larger cakes or larger cassatas to serve, and you'll be easily able to slice them, share them, or if you felt like, also have a very big cassata for yourself. So that could also work. But that's it. Okay, fantastic. So we'll be answering any other question via email. So you'll be getting emails from us to pass on as much information as possible. Once again, thank you very much, Sabrina. Thank you very much, Giovanna and Seb. Thank you all. And
thank you. We love that. Thank you so much.
Thank you all. Have a really good evening. And like to finish also, well, thank you to Lorenzo, who's been running around behind me. But once again, thank you very much to the Italian Institute of Culture in Edinburgh, the Consulate General of Italy in Edinburgh, and the Scottish office of the Italian Chamber of Commerce that really coordinated and made this possible. Well, thank you very much for watching, and good night, everybody.